Welcome to the new YouTube channel for day 289. This was the 15th of June, 2023, a Thursday. So I spent most of the day in Tampa for that last medical procedure that I had. I had to go 3 days, so that consumed most of my day, but I still worked on books. I worked on Remote Wellness Academy, and I did some insurance business besides my time in Tampa. So that was pretty much it. Very long day, but very grateful for the people there at Loving Life, the place where I had the medical procedure done. Very grateful for their support. So today, I'd like to continue the discussion that I was having about my military service. So I'm at Fort Riley, Kansas. 9/11 happened. I was working in the G1, which is the headquarters element, the headquarters personnel department. I had worked in the transition center for part of that time, helping soldiers with their DD-214s and helping them out process the military. So I did that. And so while I was there at Fort Riley, Kansas, one of the staff officers, commissioned officer, I know I was working on something in the personnel office, and I was asked to get his officer record brief, and that's just it's like a one-page summary of everything, all the qualifications and skills and assignments and all that on a particular person. So I had ran this officer's officer record brief, and I noticed that this young officer had like 3 or 4 different languages, and I was really surprised. And I just remarked to him, I said, I'm really, I didn't know you spoke all these languages, because they weren't like similar. Maybe there was one that was like Chinese, and one was French and Spanish. So he had like this broad, all these different languages. And I said, "Sir, is this right? Did you speak all these languages? I didn't know you, never knew that you did that." And he says, "Well, I was a foreign area officer, and a foreign area officer is someone where the military will put you into a foreign setting. They actually pay and have you live in the local populace so that you get a complete language and cultural immersion, in that environment." And I said, "Wow, that I was listening to him tell this story, and I'm like, that is amazing. I wish I could do something like that." And he says, "Well, foreign area officers are for commissioned officers, so they don't have any non-commissioned officers," which I was a non-commissioned officer. But he says they do have this program called the Defense Attaché Program, and these are there are NCOs, sergeants, that work in embassies, U.S. embassies abroad, and they get to live, and they pretty much have a very similar lifestyle. So that had sparked some interest in me, and I was like, "Wow, I want to do that." And I did some research, and there is this obscure program. There's not many people in this program. Maybe in the Army, not that many. I don't even want to say I think I have a general idea how many. I don't want to say publicly how many, but there's not that many. It's a very small amount of people. You think of an embassy like a supermarket, right? A supermarket, you have your basic dry goods, your basic goods, but then you have a produce section and a bakery and a pharmacy and then a butcher, maybe a deli. That's like what an embassy is like. An embassy, generally the proponent agency is the Department of State. They control the consular section that deals with American citizen services and also granting visas to foreign nationals. And they have a political section which interacts with the local government, and they're subject matter experts, and they receive receive and send information to Washington, and they receive information from Washington, and they negotiate to help put together treaties and things like that. Then there's the economic section, which does it on an economic scale. Then there's public diplomacy, which is going out and winning the hearts and minds of people and spreading American democracy. And then there's the management section, which is the day-to-day operations of the embassy, which includes the Human Resource Office, the medical unit, the General Services Office, which General Services covers everything from your motor pool to your housing. They have the Community Liaison Office, which handles, helping people, leisure activities for people and helping spouses find jobs and employment and helping people get settled and sponsorship. And it's just and management also has the RSO, the Regional Security Office, which deals with the security of the embassy, and they are the police force of the embassy. So that's the basic Department of State. But then you have other agencies that work in the embassy. They have I mean, they're not rented, but they occupy a certain part. And you have everything from the IRS to Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Defense has its own section in most embassies, the DoD, and they call that the Defense Attaché. And the Defense Attaché system is the organization that runs the DAOs, the defense section, in all of these different embassies. And your more bigger embassies have they'll have an Army Attaché, an ALUSNA, which is the Naval Attaché, an Air Attaché, and sometimes even have like a Coast Guard Attaché, in some places. Not every embassy, the smaller embassies only have one or two attachés, or maybe just one. And sometimes, there'll be one person covering a small country that has hardly any embassy. There might only be one officer. And then also, there's other defense-related folks. Sometimes there's security assistance. Sometimes there's governmental cooperation. There'll be other DoD people there that are not a part of the defense attaché system. But that's how that works. So in any embassy, you have your defense attachés, commissioned officers, and they are basically military diplomats, and they interface with their military counterparts in the host nation country. And then you have NCOs that help run things. You have reports that have to be run, and then vehicles that have to be maintained, and equipment that needs to be accounted for. And then the NCOs do overflight, military overflight, getting the proper clearances, and then handling visitors and escorting people. And that's all a part of being a operations NCO. And then the top operations person is called the operations coordinator, which in most places is a warrant officer, but in some places it's a more senior non-commissioned officer. So anyway, I found out about this program called the Defense Attaché System, and they had some pretty high requirements. This is you had to take at the time when I was considering doing this, I had to take a typing test, and I had to have certain scores, and there was a whole bunch of different requirements. I didn't exactly meet all the requirements. I was close, but and then it's just a matter of it's such a small group of people that you have to apply to get in and all that. And I had the guy that I was talking to in Washington. I found out about this program. They had a little tiny obscure website, and they really don't advertise it because they don't need to. There's not that many people that do it, so it's not like in military. I had 3 tours in Germany, and you never hear anything on AFN or anything. You never hear nothing about the Defense Attaché system. So I got in my mind that I wanted to do this. This really struck something like, oh wow, this is something I really want to do, because it's so outside of the normal military, the regular army. Regular army, we have our military uniform, our BDUs, and then later came the ACUs. And you have formations and PT tests and field training. That's all a part of being a soldier. In the defense attaché system, they give you a civilian clothing allowance. The military people wearing a coat and a tie like everybody else. There's a Marine security guard, but that's not a part of the defense attaché system. They actually are attached to the regional security office, and they work for the Department of State. So the Marines, the Marine security guard, is not a part of the defense attaché system, although there are Marines that are in the defense attaché system. Hopefully I haven't confused it too much. So there was a guy in Washington, was a master sergeant, and I had called this guy like every week for almost a year. And I'm like, hey, I really want to do this. And he's like, well, you don't really have this much experience. You go take this course, go do that, go do this. And I did everything that the guy told me to do. And I was really like, persistent. And, finally he says, look, okay, here's the deal. If you come into the defense attaché system, you go to where we tell you to go. There's no complaining, there's no crying, there's no nothing. You go to your first assignment, and then once you go to your first assignment, after that, after you successfully complete your first assignment, then you have the opportunity to go and based on availability, decide what assignment you want for your second assignment. You have more flexibility. But the first one, you don't really. If you agree to go into this program, you go to where we tell you to go. I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything. I just want to get involved. I see the opportunity to do this. And he says, okay, you're going to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And it's like, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, okay, and some people are laughing at me, saying, oh, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb in Ethiopia. But I went, and so the course was actually like, I think it was like 4 or 5 months of training in Bolling Air Force Base in Washington, D.C., and it was great training. Really, really, that's probably like the highlight of my whole career was that training. It was really, really super good. Super, learning a whole bunch of different life skills. Did that, and then went to Ethiopia, and then, Ethiopia was a fantastic assignment. Really lived very well, had my own house. I was able to hire a housekeeper who really took very good care of me. Hired a gardener, and this gardener, was a really fantastic guy, and had a really good tour. And there were times when I got really sick being over there, eating some of the food. I got really, really sick. Once I got to the hospital, and then there were times when I saw really extreme poverty, like people starving and stuff. But the Ethiopians are extremely friendly people, and I felt very, very safe over in Ethiopia. This is my stomach. I have a really bad stomach, and that ever since I had that tour in Ethiopia, I had stomach issues. But fantastic people, fantastic assignment. Life changing, and then my next assignment after that, I will tell you in tomorrow's episode. But needless to say, when I got to had that first assignment, I had decided that hey, this is something after the military that I wanted to go into the State Department. I wanted to be a part of the civilian U.S. Foreign Service, and I realized that dream. That dream did come true. But be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it, and that's a story for another time. And then you might get what you ask for, and then you might discover, well, maybe this isn't exactly what I had in mind. Which I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to tell the story, but I'm grateful for that Master Sergeant Williams is his name, I believe, and the people who taught the attaché staff course, and all the people that I served with, all the people who were inspirational. Just had a great time. I'm really grateful for the whole experience. So anyway, that's it for day 289. Let me know your comments and thoughts, and I will talk to you tomorrow.